Hi, Sarah here from Singer's Advice. Well, thanks for joining me. And today I'm going to talk to you about the damaging effects of acid and silent reflux on the singing voice. So stay tuned. So what is acid reflux? Well, it's when the acid, the contents of your stomach, the acid comes back up your esophagus and it burns your vocal folds. You know, it causes symptoms such as heartburn and indigestion, but it is effectively pouring acid over your vocal folds and causing irritation, swelling that can all lead to vocal problems, which you do not want. So the difference between acid reflux and silent reflux is that with acid reflux, you kind of get the obvious symptoms of like heartburn, indigestion, that kind of pain in your chest. Whereas with silent reflux, you don't necessarily get that. You just notice problems with your voice. So hoarseness, wheezing, that kind of sore throat on a morning, it taking longer for your voice to just sound like normal. So for a singer, it's really important to notice when something might be going wrong like this and to deal with it straight away. So what is this reflux caused by? Well, it can be caused by eating large meals, eating late at night. It can be caused by stress. It can be caused by certain medications, so things like ibuprofen, aspirin, some blood pressure medications, lots and lots of medications. It can be caused by spicy foods, citrus foods, alcohol, irritants, coffee, things that irritate the stomach and cause more acid. Having too much acid in your stomach or having too little acid in your stomach can cause this. And also a hiatal hernia, which can also, you can be also more prone to this if you are a singer. So that's when the LES, that lower esophageal sphincter, kind of gets separated a bit and gets a little bit above the diaphragm, and that's why it's causing more acid to come out of there. You're getting more escaping because your diaphragm helps it to, stay closed and stay down there. So being a singer, we put more pressure on our abdominal muscles and on our diaphragm. So that's why we're more prone to getting this. And it's looking out for the symptoms to know if it is happening to you. So what are the obvious symptoms of acid reflux? Well, you've got your heartburn and your indigestion. You've got feeling sick and bloated, sore throat. Sometimes this can be what you notice if you don't get the usual heartburn symptoms, which is more towards the silent reflux, because you might not be kind of getting that, or excessive wind, or you might not have those symptoms, but if you wake up on a morning and you kind of got that awful groggy feeling and that kind of metallic taste, that kind of tells you that while you've been sleeping, things have not been so good in the night. Because when you lay down, the acid comes up, and people do recommend that if you do suffer with reflux, that you tilt the kind of bed head of your bed. The pillows, putting more pillows isn't enough. The actual bed needs to be slightly tilted upright. But which, I don't know, you could put some things under the bottom of the bed to higher it. But yeah, there are lots and lots of things. Main symptoms of silent reflux, I think, are that hoarseness and that kind of wheezing and that drying of the throat and just yeah, I mean, you could be thinking, what is going on? You could think you've got, you know, a viral infection or something. But if it doesn't go, you know, after a few weeks, and you can kind of end up feeling like you've got laryngitis, then it could be caused by reflux. So how can you keep this under control? Well, there are short-term ways and long-term ways to keep this under control. And I would suggest that you always go and see your doctor if this has been a problem for you for quite some time, or if you're noticing vocal problems and you're not really sure why this is happening. Go and see your doctor, because they can refer you to a voice specialist who can have a good look down there, get a camera down there and just check what's going on, and that can advise you on what to do next. Usually what would happen is you may get prescribed some acid blocking medication, you know, acid reducing medication, antacids, things like Gaviscon. And this is great because at the beginning, you kind of sometimes need a bit of help just to get things back to a level. But in the long term, this isn't good really, as in my experience, which I will tell you my story in a minute of dealing with reflux, I find that it kind of doesn't get rid of the cause, it just sort of masks it for a little bit and then it just comes back with a vengeance. So yeah, in the long term, really looking at your lifestyle, looking at, are you eating too late at night? Because that is a massive cause of reflux, because you know, you're eating and then you go into bed and you're laying down and that's, you know, it's coming back up and burning your vocal folds while you're happily asleep. It's really attacking your vocal folds and you do not want that. It's horrible, horrible. So yeah, just be aware of what's going on. Triggers, so what food triggers you? What drink triggers you off? What do you notice makes you not feel that great when you've eaten it? You know, you could have an allergy that may be causing this, possibly, you know, as well. I'm sure there are things like that that trigger off reflux. And yeah, just make sure you go to see someone about this, because you don't want this causing you any more damage. So my story of dealing with reflux, silent reflux, was after I had my first daughter, a year after I had Isabel. I started noticing my voice wasn't quite right, and I've never had vocal problems before. I hadn't changed anything about my singing technique. I wasn't really doing anything different apart from not getting enough sleep, probably being a little bit stressed, and yeah, it was strange. One day my voice would be fine, another day my voice wouldn't. And it kind of went on like this for a while. And I just kind of lived with it. I just sort of thought, oh, it'll be fine. You know, it's just, I'm a new mum. Life's a little bit different. And it came to a head when I think a couple of weeks went by where my voice was just bad. For 2 weeks, I wasn't ill. I didn't have a cold, I didn't have a cough, I didn't have anything like that. I was just fine, but I was hoarse, permanently hoarse, like I had laryngitis. I'd be okay, and then by the end of the day, so if I'd been teaching singing or I'd gone and done a gig, I could barely speak. And I was like, this is not right. Something's not right here, you know. So I went to see a doctor who I explained I was a singer. I wanted to see a voice specialist to have a look to see what was going on. You know, I went in there knowing what I wanted. So, and he was great, actually. He, you know, did the usual checks. He offered me some acid reducing medication to see if that would work. But I said I'd really like to see a specialist straight away. I got referred to an ENT. They had a look, and basically she told me that I had chronic vocal damage, and I was absolutely just destroyed. It was like the worst thing that anybody could ever tell you as a singer. She said, "You've got chronic vocal damage." I was like, "What do you mean? You know, you can't just tell someone you've got chronic vocal damage." I was like, "Do I have nodules? What is going on in there?" "You don't have nodules yet, but you've got chronic vocal damage. It's very dry. There's lots of inflammation, and you need to look at your breathing technique." Well, I thought, for a start, you've never heard me sing, so you can't blame it on my breathing technique, which has been the same since I was about 18, you know, if not younger. And yeah, so that was a little bit strange. She referred me to a speech and language therapist, which is a major thing that you do when you've got vocal problems. But the wait was 8 weeks. And I couldn't wait that long. You know, I'm a professional singer and vocal teacher. I couldn't wait 8 weeks for someone to start helping me get back to normal. So I had to go, I looked up the best vocal specialist really in this area of where I live in the north of England. And so I went to see a guy called Mr. Karagama, who was like an hour and a half's drive from where I live in Cheshire. He's based in Cheshire. So I went to see him, he put the camera down. He was great actually. Straight away, you've got tiny, tiny little vocal nodules. And I was relieved because I knew that was what was causing it. You know, I couldn't pitch, I couldn't hit notes that I could normally hit. My siren was just horrendous. I could barely speak, you know, most of the time. It was awful. And he also noticed there was inflammation, so he put me on the acid reducing medication, which maybe I should have taken that from the doctor to start with. It would have saved me quite a lot of money. But it kind of gave me the answers that I wanted. And I got some cool pictures as well and a video of my voice, which I'll try and share with you as well, showing what was going on in there. And yeah, so from then he referred me to a speech and language therapist, and I booked an appointment with her, and I saw her a week later. So during that week, from seeing Mr. Karagama to seeing the speech and language therapist, I took the medication, I drank lots of water, I didn't drink any alcohol, I didn't eat things that I thought might trigger me off, so anything with tomatoes in it. I avoided sort of citrusy fruits and onions and chocolate and mint as well, which was crazy. But yeah, mint can cause it. And within a week, my voice was clear. In fact, within a few days, my voice was clearer. I drank a lot of water, which I think I've just said, but that is a major thing, especially if you're so dry, your body needs rehydrating. And yeah, so I went to see the speech and language therapist, again, quite far from where I live. And yeah, she went through some exercises with me and basically signed me off. So that was a relief as well, because I was, you know, when somebody puts that in your mind that something could be wrong with your technique, you do start to question it. And luckily, there was nothing wrong with my technique. She said, "No, you're not doing anything wrong. I don't really understand why you got vocal nodules. It could be because of the acid reflux, change in lifestyle. You know, I had a child with new mum and probably more stressed and lack of sleep. But yeah, whatever it was, the medication and the rest, I tried not to speak and tried not to sing for a week, which was quite difficult. And it made a massive, so I recovered very quickly. So what happened from then on, I went back to see the consultant a couple of times. The nodules were gone. I kind of went on and off this medication, but every time I stopped it, it came back kind of worse. So in some ways, it's not great to take that medication because I think it does make things worse, but in the short term, it helped me recover and get my voice back, get rid of the nodules, and, you know, go from there. So from there, Since then, I've made sure that the things that trigger me off, I've started to notice what triggers me off. So definitely tomatoes. Prosecco is just the worst thing in the whole world. I don't drink very much anyway, but if I have a glass of Prosecco, my voice is horrendous for weeks. So don't know what that's about, but yeah, just watch out for things like that. Steaming as well, that was another thing I did. I steamed twice a day for weeks after I had this problem, and that helped as well. It helped massively get rid of the hoarseness, reduce the swelling in my throat, and yeah, just helped me recover. So yeah, I would always say, if you do have problems, please go see someone about it. Make sure you get to see someone who can have a look down there. And don't always, it could be to do with vocal technique when you get vocal problems. Of course it can. But it can sometimes be this silent reflux that you've not noticed, and comes out of nowhere. I'd never had it before. Never had it in my life before. And I said to Mr. Karagama, why am I getting this now? And he said, it just happens. It can just happen. You can get bouts of it for a couple of weeks and then you can be fine. But it's keeping it under control and learning new triggers and being able to deal with it and changing little things, lifestyle things. It doesn't have to be major. It can be really small things that can trigger this off. So you just have to watch out for it. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that has helped. Please let me know if you've suffered with acid reflux or silent reflux as a singer and what has helped you. I've heard about things like licorice and slippery elm. I'd love to hear more things that help you out. So put them in the comments below. Thumbs up if you've liked the video, and feel free to email me if you've got any questions, sarah@singersadvice.com, and I will see you again soon at Singer's Advice.